What's the biggest question you've got this morning? Besides, can you get a free one?
Right. Well, you know, I guess it's how Apple is going to merchandise a product with so many variations, right? This is unique in Apple's history. You've got, you know, 3 different kinds of Apple Watch. You've got the stainless steel Apple Watch, the Sport Edition encased in aluminum, and then, of course, the Gold Edition, which Matt and I will be running out to buy. You've got 2 sizes of watch face, 42 millimeters and 38 millimeters, and then all these different bands. You know, how are they going to present it in the Apple retail stores? And, of course, what will the prices be? It starts at $349. How high will it go? It's a lot of complexity for an Apple product. They're going to have to come up with a new way of selling it.
What do you think, Jeff?
So, you know, it's Apple, and good morning, Matt and Stephanie. It's Apple, so it's going to be important, but as an Apple fanboy, I will actually not rush to go and buy it because I want to understand what is the use case, what is going to make me replace my set of watches, because the last thing I want is to have yet another connected device on my body. I'm very happy with my smartphone. I'm not convinced yet as to why I should be buying the Apple Watch. Is it the sports tracking capabilities? Is that the window on my phone? The fact that apparently they will have smart notifications that tell me, hey, someone is trying to text you, and as opposed to picking up my phone, I will look at my watch. I think it's going to be pretty awkward kind of interaction. So I want to see how people use it before I make my decision and buy it.
Jeff, it's also a high-end product. What about the fact that high-end guys love the current watches they wear? Are they suddenly going to be putting away their Rolex, Cartiers, and IWCs?
It's certainly a you know, the notion of connected jewelry is a market that is just starting. We've seen connected sort of rings for women. We now have smartwatches. Let's not forget that up until now, it sounds like the market has been selling about, what, 1 million, 2 million sort of units, and to Apple, this is nothing. Obviously, if they were making a toaster, they would actually sell 1 million units. So it's sort of trying to figure out what is success for Apple. I agree with you. If you have sort of a high-end watch, why would you sort of use the Apple Watch? And maybe you would sort of rotate them. I'm not against that notion, but I'm a bit confused as to, as Brad said, how will Apple sort of market this, where there are so many variations and so many sort of reasons to buy and wear the watch.
Yeah, Brad. I mean, I'm guessing they're going to not aim at the highest end clients who have on an IWC pilot's watch. They're looking for somebody who would maybe be in the market for a Swatch or a G-Shock instead, right?
No.
Yeah, that's right. Well, look, I mean, you know, to make a dent in Apple's revenues, this has to be a huge market, right? I mean, this is a company that brought in revenue $200 billion over the last 4 quarters. So they need a huge market here. I think this is the beginning. This is a placeholder. And as the Apple Watch develops more sensors, more health monitoring capabilities, it will start to appeal to a wider audience. But what we're gonna have to see today is what it does, what the apps do, and whether it does have a widespread appeal.
Brad, many of us last week were saying $10,000 for a gold Apple Watch. Who's going to pay that? But just yesterday, Scott Galloway was saying, I'll tell you who's going to buy it, China. Do you agree?
You know, this will be the ultimate representation of conspicuous consumption. The people that will buy that Gold Edition watch are the ones that want their friends to know they are the kind of people that would buy the Gold Edition watch. So, you know, I don't think Apple sells many of them. I agree. It may partly be targeted at the Chinese market. But, you know, you have to ask a question. Why would you buy such an expensive device when it will probably be obsolete in a year, maybe 2?
Right. I mean, Jeff, I figured they have to aim at, Brad was talking about the health component, so they're going to aim at jawbone. You can imagine that they would aim at, like, Sunto and Polar.
And Fitbit, his investment.
And Fitbit. But they're not going to be aiming at Rolex or Cartier. I mean, there's no way they can, I can't imagine they could get that market.
Yeah, but then the issue is really the price point. The first Apple Watch starts at $349. The basic Fitbit is $59, and it doesn't need to be recharged every day. So as I said to Stephanie when I was last in New York, there's really sort of a different use case here again, where someone who really wants to monitor their sleep and their health and their activity will wear a device on the left wrist, and then they will have a watch on the right wrist. So I'm actually not buying the notion that an Apple Watch will be a strong competitor to a Fitbit, which is today 75% of the market.
Is it possible, Jeff, that Apple does not hit a home run with this product? I mean, I just can't see why it would be the next thing you have to have rather than just a novelty.
Look, this is the iPod version 1. It's not going to be perfect. It's going to be beautiful for people who sort of enjoy it and like it. And Apple will sort of certainly learn from it. And, you know, I'm tempted for once to not buy version 1, but to wait for version 2, which I'm sure will be smaller, will have a longer battery. The big question here is, how long is the battery life? Is it going to last for the entire day? Apple has integrated this watch mode where if the battery is too low, it will just display the time. That tells you that they know they will have battery issues.
Are the Fitbit folks worried at all, or does Apple getting into the game in a big way just make the connected world or consumers' interest in it all the more important?
I would say definitely the latter. I think that Fitbit has enjoyed a leadership position in this market, 75% of the market, as we said, and now Apple sort of getting in play in the market will just do one thing, which is legitimize it.
Brad, do you feel like there's really that much hype around this? I mean, I can remember when the first or second versions of the iPad or the iPhone came out, it was a super huge deal, and I just don't get that consumers are as excited about it, at least not from here. What's it like in Cupertino?
It may be a little bit of a harder sell. I mean, look, this is a very different kind of product category for Apple, for consumers. We've seen other kinds of wearable devices, most obviously Google Glass, really fail. But that said, you know, I think everyone in computing agrees that these devices are getting more personal. They're leaving our desks, our offices. They're coming onto our bodies. A kind of connected watch is an inevitability. So, you know, I see this as the beginning of a big mountain that Apple and all computing makers have to climb. What does success look like? This may be a slower burn than other Apple products.
But Brad, Tim Cook is closely tied to Nike, and we saw Nike, I'm not going to say fail with the Fuel Band, but it clearly wasn't a success.
That's right, and you know, Nike closed that division and laid some people off. But Nike's not a computer company, a technology company, and Apple is. This is the first major product category launch under Tim Cook. He is really personally associated with fitness and well-being. This is a big bet for him, so I think he's got a lot of his credibility on the line here. And pre-launching it in September, doing another event now in March, you know, it shows that Apple's been very thoughtful about how to introduce a new product category and how to get people and app developers starting to think about it.
I wonder if we start to see people wearing more than one watch. Remember in the 80s when people would put on like 6 different swatches?
That was just a style thing. Jeff, what do you think about the fact? Hold on, Jeff. What do you think about the fact that Fuel Band didn't work for Nike? Is that any threat to this connected world?
No, I think Nike just didn't have a hit product. Fuel Band was a pretty crappy product, to be honest. The notion that he was telling. Technically speaking, he was telling consumers that they had fuel points, and you didn't know what that meant, right? You were sort of walking, you were running, and suddenly you had points. And so just missed the mark on the consumer experience. I think that there is definitely a legitimate sort of market there. You know, smartwatches is still small. Sports tracker is you know, another magnitude bigger, but it's still small. And I think that Apple jumping in the fray will sort of get people interested in what's going on with the wrists, and will figure out whether they vote with their feet and buy one watch, or figure out that sports tracker, activity tracker, sleep trackers is definitely a better option for them. I do think, though, that we're in the early innings of that market opportunity.
From a clumsiness standpoint, do you see people willing to charge their watch every night?
It's going to be awkward. It's already sort of a pain to think about charging your cell phone, you know, every day, sometimes multiple times a day. And if you have to sort of think about the watch is something that you remove or you wear in the case of a sleep tracker. But thinking about charging it is going to be like awkward to adapt. And, you know, if you don't charge it, it won't have battery for the next day.
I don't even take my watch off at night when I go to bed. You know, I mean.
My problem is my sleep tracker, my Fuel Band, my Fitbit. I wear a Jawbone. I take it off when I sleep.
You still do that kind of thing?
I do.
I thought people only did that for a few months and got done.
I mean, I'm not going to lie. I have said that my nightstand is a bit of a fitness tracker graveyard. I do have a lot of them in there, but I wear a Jawbone up, and I like it.